We are.
Okay, Jane, we're ready to run. We are, okay. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 5th, 2023, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We will call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. You can join today's board meeting via phone. Dial 971-254-3149, conference ID number 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on the best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online to pctvonline.com and clicking on live broadcast. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Do we have anyone signed up in the room, or has anyone registered online?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. All right, we've already called the meeting to order. I would invite those in the room with us to please make sure that you sign the guest list, and we will move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Bell, will you lead us this morning? Bill.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, since we have no public comment, we have no non-agenda items this morning, we will start with our presentation. We are happy to have Nan Devlin with us today. Tillamook Coast Visitors Association's semi-annual report. Good morning, Nan.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for scheduling me in so I can share with you all the things that we've been working on, and it's been a very busy semi-annual. I'll go through some of the highlights. The first part of the report is really about just our organization, our vision, who's on our board, our team, our equity statement, just what is destination management, and what that means, and what kind of networks that we're working with, the types of networks, and what we try to do. And I will tell you, this was interesting. At the end of February, I did a guest lecture at my alma mater, George Washington University. It was for the tourism graduate students. And the professor, who's the head of the department there, he said, "Do you realize something? I have been looking for years for a DMO, destination management organization that is working in community-based tourism. I have been looking for years. I finally found one in Tillamook Coast Visitors Association." So that was really wonderful. And of course, my LinkedIn, that was at night. I mean, my LinkedIn page started blowing up with people wanting to connect and wanting to know how we were doing this. And then that was a great, kind of kudos, I think, to us, because he said, a lot of people talk about it, they write about it, they think about it, they don't do it. And we're doing it. So I'm really glad about that, because I think it's a powerful thing. Yeah.
Bravo. It's great to get that acknowledgement.
Yeah, it is. Because we're just sitting here, boots on the ground, doing stuff, and
Right.
not knowing that, oh, wow, this is something.
This is another area that Tillamook County is leading, not only Oregon,
Yes,
we're one of the leaders in the nation itself.
Yes.
Which is terrific.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'd like to thank the commissioners and our board too for allowing us to do that, because when we first started, you know, we were the EDC, and it was about marketing, and I completely understood that, because they wanted the TLT to get up there so we could get it out into the county, and we did. But-
And we are.
And we did. But,
Yes, we did.
and it's still going up, you know, which is, despite the fact that we're doing very little marketing. We should maybe consider doing more if we have a recession, but, because we'll need to help our businesses, but.
So at this point, one of the things I want to point out is that the commissioners way back when decided 30% of the transient lodging tax money that we could do anything we want with was gonna go to public works to help maintain our roads.
Yes,
This year, it looks like it's gonna be $1.6 million
I love
going
that.
to public works. That's a third of their budget.
Wow.
Yes, it's amazing. So there are so many great things happening with TLT.
I think so too, and kudos to Rachel too for all the work she's doing at the Quanda Corridor project. That's become also a state model, Rachel. And I talked about that.
That's a very good team.
And I talked about that also at that GWU lecture, and they said, "What? What are you doing?" I said, "This is what the county's doing with money." So it's great. I just love it, and I love being a part of it. So I thought I'd start first with our benchmarks. Of course, we do the 3 R's. This is something else that the GWU went, "What? You don't look at social media engagement or website clicks?" I said, "Yes, we do, but that's not our focus. Our focus is, people, place, and profit." And the benchmarks represent that, the 3 R's. So return on relationships, return on responsibility, and return on reinvestment. And we'll go through each one of those that we've done and worked on in the last 6 months. So return on relationships. North Coast Food Trail is now in its 6th year. Just sent the updated brochure to the printer this morning. We have 80 members, and Klatskanite came on this year because we've been working with them through Colpack. So they're gone, and so it's Klatskanite and Astoria to Neskowin. All members survived COVID. Not a single one closed. And in fact, several expanded. A few, there was like 3 or 4 that sold, but they sold to locals. So locals are reinvesting, and most of those were restaurants, and locals are reinvesting in the county. So that's great. We also formed the Partners for Rural Food Systems, which I'm very excited about, and we're going to have a food industry meeting on May 1st to talk about it and get our farmers, fishers, producers to talk as well. We have formed a board, and 5, we'd like to have 7, but we have 5, including Sarah Massoni, and she is the Development Director for the Food Innovation Center in Portland. She has been working with us for about 4 years and has been very supportive of what we're doing and said, "I want to be a part of it." Now, here's the great part about her being a part of it, is that the Food Innovation Centers from Oregon, Washington, like I think it's Western Washington University, or Washington State, Montana, Idaho, and I think she said Colorado, went together as a group, a collaboration, to apply for $50 million from the feds, and they'll all get a share of it, and that share will go out throughout their states. And she said, "That's why I want to be a part of this, because I think I can bring in some money." I'm thrilled, because my life for the next 1.5 or 2 years is going to be grant writing to get money in. But we do have a lot of great partners, and the Seafood Innovation Center will be at the Port of Garibaldi. The Agriculture Innovation Center, which we'll partner with on food routes, will be at the Port of Tillamook Bay. Oregon Food Bank's involved. We also have been working with the Department of Homeland Security because the Port of Tillamook Bay is an evacuation center, and we're in talks with them to fund the commercial kitchen building. Because all we have to do is just when they bring food in, we have to make sure that before its expiration date, it gets out to the Oregon Food Bank for distribution and they bring new stuff in. So, keeping our
Oh, it is.
fingers on that.
Yes.
We also did in cultural heritage and arts in our relationships, we did a new cultural heritage trail brochure and enhanced website content. Of course, the star of this report in this section is the Swiss Centennial, which attracted 1,200 people, 400 participants, and was sanctioned by not only the county, but also the West Coast Swiss Association and the General Consul from San Francisco, Swiss General Consul. So that it's, we're hoping it will continue, probably not on that scale, but it will continue. So I'm really glad about that. That was a great party. We are also working with the arts businesses in the city of Tillamook to develop a designated arts district. Now, the state's Arts Commission does not have that kind of designation. They're working on it, but Hillsborough created a designated arts district. So I'm working with them to find out what hoops they had to go through to get that done. So I'll work closely with them. In industry support, we are doing the sustainable tourism grants, tourism facilities grants, tourism signage grant, and we're doing the Rockaway Beach marketing grant programs. They also want to do a facilities grant, and they are looking at budgeting $200,000 for their tourism businesses in city of Rockaway Beach, and we'll help them manage that as well. So all the cities have been looking to the county to see how they use that 70%, and we're trying to help them model on that. We did Guest Service Gold training. Amy did several grant writing workshops, hosted the annual tourism banquet, and all of our team has participated in Oregon Tourism Leadership Academy. Dan just finished that. Amy's there now. She'll be doing that this year. And also, and I probably get to this a little bit later, but our team is taking the certificate from George Washington University in Destination Management, Sustainable Tourism, and that's an online program, and Dan is almost done with it, and Amy's getting there. So, I really want this team to be really versed in this kind of stuff. Return on responsibility, boy, this has been busy. In destination development, we did the Bay City wayfinding plan. This week, the design intent drawings will be finished and they'll go off for bids for fabrication. So we'll be starting that really soon. We also did a destination management plan for Bay City. That was completed in December. We just wrapped up Manzanitas, and they're already doing projects that got prioritized. In fact, I'm presenting to the city council tonight, and they are proposing an STR enforcement officer. Yeah. And I went through Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association to make sure the TLT could be used for that, and yes, they approved it, as long as they check in with us and the visitor center and keep us informed. So that's an opportunity maybe for the county as well. But we can talk about that later. We're also doing Oceanside and Cape Mears community destination planning starting in May. And we'll also be doing Cape Mears wayfinding planning in May. And Pacific City, Pacific City is going to get some more banners along the Kiwanda Drive, and those are being manufactured right now, fabricated, and then we'll get a couple more on Broughton Road, and then Rockaway Beach will be finished up next week for wayfinding. And everybody's going, where, can we get more signs? Can we get more signs? Yeah, you have to wait your turn now. We also conducted an aviation tourism research because we had a request from Pacific City Airport, could we do marketing for them? And I thought, well, look, we need to do some research on that because I don't know of any other airports other than Portland that does marketing. But we did the research and found that both Pacific City and the Halem Bays Airport is at capacity and can't really take anything else. And that Port of Tillamook Bays Airport needs some improvements before we could market that. So we'll put that on hold for now, but we've got the research to support it. We did some public safety support and messaging. We got posters out to most of the fire districts to help recruit volunteers. And we did videos of their volunteers and got them to talk about why they do what they do and volunteer, and got that on social media. And the stewardship of natural environment, we launched an alternative transportation pilot program, and it was with a hotel. And we said, if you take the bus, show your bus tickets when you check in, you'd get $100 in gift cards for meals. Well, nobody took us up on that. So we're going to try it again. It could be because it was the wrong month, or so we're going to test it in May and June. When it, more likely that maybe couples and not families would come by bus. And so we'll see how that goes. We are working on a video with the Tillamook Working Lands and Waters Cooperative to talk about the work that they're doing. We did an animated stewardship and safety video, and this is something that I have been wanting to do for so long, and Dan took it on and has been wildly successful with it. We developed a Tillamook Coast Volunteer Adventures program where people come out for the day or the weekend and they get educated on some of the work and stewardship that's going on, and then they do an activity. And we treat them to a locally sourced meal and, other fun things. So far that's booked is Intel, Linfield College or University, the Kiwanda Hospitality Group is going to do it. They're going to be our guinea pig, our first one. And who's the other one? Oh, the Girl Scouts of Salem are coming to do it, and they heard about it on a podcast. Zachary Ness, who's a sports writer, outdoor writer for Salem Statesman Journal, and they heard it and called right away. So that we're going to do 4 this year and see how that goes. And REI is considering, wants to see how it goes, and they're considering sponsoring it next year. So we're really glad about that. So we now have 9 beach wheelchairs, and we need dock improvements before we can do ADA kayak launchers. So I've been talking to Rockaway because they, I think, are taking over the management of Lake Lytle, possibly, and they're going to build a dock. And I said, please make it sturdy enough so we can do kayak launchers, and one of them be an ADA launcher, which is a great place to go kayaking there anyway. So we also became certified in autism travel and what it takes for people with autism or really high sensitivity, what kind of needs they have, and we went through our website and improved it for people with sensory issues. So we just finished that. Got a $20,000 Travel Oregon grant to do a countywide accessibility study, and we're going to work with county parks on that. And the really fun thing is David's Chair. And there's an anonymous donor who has bought a chair, and his wife left Manzanita, so it's going to go to Manzanita. But we're looking to get one into Rockaway Beach and 2 into Pacific City. And there's an event this summer in Pacific City about David's Chair, and they're going to be there for the weekend showing it off. So we're really excited about that one. I'd like to get it into a county park where people can fish, because it's the perfect thing for people to stand up and fish that they've never been before. So return on reinvestment is really about messaging and communications. Of course, we had 50,000 copies of the visitor guide, and they are just about all distributed. We are just down to the last few. Of course, our video on Tillamook Working Lands and Water. We do share messages on outdoor recreation and the GIS map and the volunteer adventures on Oregon Field Guide, Northwestern Sports Radio, which is mostly about recreational fishing. He's really good. And the Explore Oregon podcast. As with our partnerships in the North Coast Food Trail, we do promote that, and we do it on the OPB online program called Super Abundant, which is about local foods. It's a wonderful program. It won an Emmy. And then every fall, we work with KOAN TV on the Oregon Harvest documentary. This year, we featured Josie Farms, Oregon Coastal Flower Farm, and Oregon Seaweed. And we've done that every year but 1 year. And it gets a ton of views, and they repeat it several times, but it really shines a light on our agriculture here. We used grant funds from Colpack's World Food System program to develop videos and photography for farms and farmers markets along the North Coast, and that was really fun. And we are at all the farms and all the Columbia, Clatsop, and Tillamook County can use all that media for their own purposes as well. And then, of course, we write a monthly column in the Pacific City Sun about destination management. Internally, we implemented something called EOS. It's the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and this is a way for our team to determine if all the projects we get asked to do are actually appropriate for us, and do we have the time, and what kind of resources do we need for that. It's been a wonderful implementation for us because it's all about project management, and it's been really good. We've also adopted software to efficiently manage the grant processes, and now instead of Amy having to go in and check to see what dates, she gets pinged when things are ready, and then she can notify all the grantees, which is really good. Excuse me. This is really fun. The Creamery hired a well-known grant writer named Meredith Howell, and to do a grant writing course, and there were quite a few people that took it. And then the Creamery said, pick 3 organizations to work with and help them get grants. So I'm working with Meredith. She chose ours, and she's going to help us get state and federal grants, USDA grants, to help us with rural food systems or whatever we need. So we'll be working with her for the rest of the year. And I also did a list of presentations. So we're getting out there quite a bit. All of us are getting out there and doing presentations. And these are turning into community development projects, actually. And the presentations, and Dan has been helping me with the community planning meetings, and that's helped him inform the facilities plan he's working on, and he's getting very close to doing a new level of that, so you'll see that soon. So that's about it.
Not much going on at all.
Yeah.
Not much going on at all.
Well, and there's just a lot of great things coming up, which I'm just really thrilled about. The Partners for Rural Food Systems, we will be shovel ready in June, except for the money part. But we will have all the plans, all the construction costs, all the equipment costs. We'll determine personnel, all of that we need, and then we just got to go out and get money. But so we're really excited about all of that. Any questions?
What a
Very
great
exciting.
report. Yeah, just outstanding work. What a great report. I'm really so grateful and in awe of all the things that you and your organization accomplished. This is a terrific you know, this is a biannual report, this is the stuff you've been working on in the last six months, it's outstanding.
Yeah,
And I love all the ways that you've expanded, you know, the additional things that you're taking on and looking at, like the grant writing with Meredith Howell, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that should provide all kinds of opportunity that's new.
yes,
And, yeah, and the rural food systems and the combination effort with the Port of Tillamook Bay and getting a commercial kitchen out there that could be used for businesses and also for emergency operations. It's just outstanding work, thank you.
good. Well, a lot of this stuff has been needed. You know, the rural food system thing has been needed for a really long time, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. It's really great.
No, and I just have to tell you, this, I mean, the things that you're doing now is absolutely incredible. It is. Who would have thought 5 or 6 years ago that you would be doing this? It's unbelievable. It just is.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it all. I really don't, but
I don't either.
I'm grateful that you do it. When it comes to grants, matter of fact, I'm heading to North Plains this afternoon to meet with Senator Wyden and Congresswoman Bonamici and U.S. Rural Development Undersecretary Torres Small.
Wonderful.
I'll have a quick conversation. We're talking about broadband,
Yeah.
but I think I'll have a conversation to see if she knows anything about what you are doing as an organization.
That's great.
You're doing just terrific work. You really are just unbelievable.
So
Things that
we're-
you're doing for Tillamook County.
Well, that's good. We're doing some strategic communication planning about reaching out to our legislators. And so we'll have some presentations ready for all of you. And, you know, we keep Senator Weber informed quite a bit. And we'd always kept Representative Gomberg and Senator Anderson, and they were always very supportive. I still keep them informed because you never know, you know, their vote might be really important to us. So,
You never know.
yeah,
Especially appreciate your work with Tillamook Working Lands and Waters. We had a meeting yesterday and we were talking about this.
good.
And this is an organization that really does so much for Tillamook County as far as education goes, and you helping with that. I mean, it's all about Tillamook County, and that's the great thing here.
Well, you've always been very proud of that organization, and so I started, you know, learning about it and meeting with people that are involved in it and said, we gotta tell this story. So,
Perfect. Thank you again for what
thank
do.
you.
Yeah, and I want to repeat all the thanks that you've already had. But you know, one of the things that I see in how things get done is that you have to have a champion. You have to have a place where there's a nexus, where people who say, I have a thought, I have an idea, would that work? They have to have someone to go to who has the skills, the knowledge, the ability to actually say yes and let me help you. And what you have built for us in this organization is that place for all things related to destination management. You know, it started with marketing, as you said, but it is so far beyond that now into our community's vitality and really ensuring that the industries that we love and want to flourish here have the support to do so by tying them into what the visitors want to experience. So it's just amazing that what we have because of the organization you built. So I really want to thank you for that.
Well, thank
It's
you.
huge. Absolutely huge.
And I did say I did want to go to the meeting tonight at the Port of Tillamook Bay, but I have to present at a city council meeting tonight. And Amy and Dan are out of town, and I know that biological opinion could have massive effects on this county. So we'll stay informed on it and do what we can to help, because yeah, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. So just a couple other quick comments. I just want to say on the rural food system work, Shelley Bowe. Just,
Yes.
you know, as I hear a commercial kitchen potentially coming to the Port of Tillamook Bay, Shelley was working on that commercial kitchen for the last, well, I think I started at CARE, would have been almost 20 years ago, and that was already on her list. And it's
Yes.
been a challenge to find the right space and funding and all of that, so I'm super excited to hear that may be coming to fruition, so
We have discussed naming it after her.
I think that would be just.
Wouldn't that be
just
great?
amazing.
I
That would be
know.
amazing,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's having this nexus for people who say, I have an idea. And every time I know that I've said, we have an idea, you all say, okay. And I would say that most of those come to fruition, so thank you for that work. Just really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's really great. I just love doing it, and I want to see it get up and operating, and we have some really good people working on it with us. So I'm very happy about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, thank you for being with us this morning, it was great to see you. Okay. Moving on in our agenda, we will move into our legislative administrative agenda. Item number 6, discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for fiscal year 22 EPA Brownsfield Community-Wide Assessment Project. I have Thomas Fiorelli, our housing coordinator, Department of Community Development, listed. TJ.
Good morning, County Commissioners. Thank you for the time this morning to talk about this very important step. Really quick check, can you see me and hear me okay?
We can hear you, but we see a black box with no picture, which when that happens, it's often on our end, the slower loading.
I see, okay. My hope is that I'll share my screen in a few moments and that will show up for you, and we'll allow the technology to catch up if it can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. We would love to see you talking, but yeah, for whatever reason, technology is fighting with that.
Absolutely. So what we have here in front of us today is the next step in several different steps of work that began right after I had the privilege of starting in my position here in Tillamook County. As many of you know, Commissioner Starr had pushed forward the idea of bringing a brownfield grant to Tillamook County, and several other communities throughout the state also submitted grants. 9 of those communities submitted them, 8 received them. So we were one of those 8. That's very exciting. Our initial preliminary draft was in November, and then we spent the next 3 to 4 months developing out a strategic plan and a budget for how we would use these funds if they were awarded. And they were awarded in June of this past year, and we had some steps to take in order to get to the point where we are today. The first of those, and the most important, was to select an environmental professional, a QEP, or a qualified environmental professional. And that went through an open bidding process. We received 3 bids from 3 highly qualified firms throughout the United States. All 3 of them provided wonderful submissions on how they would go about doing this work, and each one of them gave an excellent presentation with a committee that was formed, which included myself, Chief of Staff Rachel Haggerty, and some folks from Community Development, including Chris Kiola and Michelle Bradley from the Port of Tillamook Bay as well. All of those folks are going to be involved in the advisory board moving forward. What we have done is we went through and quantitatively scored each one of the applicants and clearly found that CHA Consultants, the firm in front of you on the notice of intent to award today, received the highest number of points. And I want to just mention that they have an excellent team. The consultant who is leading this project, Keith Zorban, he'll be here in Tillamook County. Not only is he working with Tillamook County, but he's also working with Chiltman. And their firm has a couple of other grants in Oregon as well. So we're excited for those collaborative opportunities. A couple of things to note here is that the award of $409,000 is reduced by about $90,000 from the original submission that the firm spent about 30 days crafting for us. When I came on board, I had the opportunity to plug into this. As many of you are aware, this is the area of expertise that I come to Tillamook County with. I looked at and researched brownfields in my master's degree, as well as in my doctoral work. And so this is an exciting opportunity to implement this from the ground up. I've worked in other communities where I've managed and monitored these grants, but never from the beginning. So this is a wonderful opportunity for me as well. One of the other things that we're including in that reduced budget to them that we're keeping for the county is that we're handling our GIS inventory in-house. In that inventory, we've already plugged in the parametrics GIS inventory that came out of the Salmonberry Trail project several years ago. We actually won the Phoenix Award for that, and Rachel Haggerty was there during the Oregon Brownfields Conference to accept that on behalf of several partners who contributed to that work. So I want to make clear that this Brownfield grant that we're moving ahead right now is based and predicated off of the good work that folks in this county have been doing for some time. And I just want to lift that up here publicly. I also want to mention that we've received, we have not received, but Colpack Economic Development District has received $1 million in a revolving loan fund specifically to support communities that are working on brownfield projects. We've been in communication with them and in close contact with them and how we might be able to move forward with some of the projects and the sites that we know right out of the gate are going to be good opportunities for things like housing, and that's what we're targeting in this particular brownfield grant. We have 5 sites that are going to get the full treatment, and I'm going to share my screen here in a moment to give county commissioners and the public a sense of what it is that we'll be doing with our environmental consultant. I have a message here that I actually might be able to share, so let me give it.
There we go.
Oh, we can see
I
your
hope
screen.
that folks.
Yes, we still
You
can't
can.
see your face, but we can see your screen.
Well, that's all that's needed.
Okay.
I want to start just by grounding us in what we are talking about and what we're not talking about. Brownfield sites are different from the hazardous sites, maybe the Superfund sites that the community oftentimes thinks of when we talk about contaminated or potentially contaminated property. I just want to point out that there's lots of different sites out there, all the way from those that are operated by the federal government and their agencies, as well as underground storage tanks and those sites that are operated by the state. What we are specifically talking about is brownfield sites, and these could be old agricultural properties, former dry cleaners, hospital facilities of different kinds, or gas stations, metal plating facilities or painting facilities, railroad yards, underground storage tanks, or even vehicle maintenance locations that are no longer in use, but sitting there as idle, vacant properties. The definition we're talking about here is a brownfield is a property where the expansion or redevelopment or reuse of that property is complicated by the presence or potential, and that's the key word here, the potential presence of hazardous substances, a pollutant, or a contaminant. Even that potential presence can make a developer say, no thank you, we'll go to a site that we know is going to be clean. We call it greenfield. And this became a huge problem, such that by the 1990s, the Conference of Mayors had raised this as a major economic challenge, not just environmental challenge, but economic. And it's estimated there's about 1 million neighborhood brownfield sites located around the United States. So this is a significant issue. It's hard to find a spot on this map where they don't exist. What we'll be doing with this grant is looking at each site. Each one is its own specific challenge. And we look at them in phases. Is there an area of the site that might have some restrictions? And is there an area of the site that we can actually phase in for development right now? That's what our environmental consultant is going to be helping us figure out in collaboration with our property owners. And the reason for that is we might be able to look at residential use or recreational use while also handling material management plans for certain groundwater issues if they exist. And that's what the environmental consultant will help us determine. There are going to be several people involved in this process. A brownfield advisory committee is forming, and the environmental consultant will be a leading role in helping us guide that work. It's really going to involve the site owners who are interested in coming to the table, the neighborhood residents who want to have a say in what a particular site could be. If it's going to be mixed use in particular, we're actually required under this grant to include the community. We'll also be working with the municipality in which many of these sites are located. We do have at least 3 sites located within urban growth boundaries and city limits of other cities throughout the county. And we'll be working with them directly alongside our regional solutions team. So one of the things that we've done in this grant is we've reallocated some funding from the consultant over to Department of Environmental Quality and the Regional Solutions team, which charges around $206 an hour for oversight and guidance. It's very smart to include them early on because it makes sure that they are up to date on what the reuse plan is for a specific site, and they can make recommendations or make sure we're not missing anything before we get ready to start developing and building. And then also we'll be having, of course, the environmental consultant and their team at the table guiding this work from the perspective of what's required and what we should be doing moving along. Just a quick note on what this looks like. There is a phase 1 assessment, and the environmental consultant will look at historical records that have been produced for that site, anything that might have happened on that site based on business records primarily. And if it looks like there was a use there that could have potentially contributed some hazardous contaminants, then they would move forward to a phase 2 site assessment, where they actually sent folks to the site to look at the soil and the water and the air. And from that, they'll develop a cleanup plan to meet regulatory compliance. And then they'll also do monitoring and start the redevelopment planning phase. Just a quick note, these are some of the things that we expect to see coming out of this. Some of the reuse options that the community thinks are going to be really good ideas and align with what the developer would like to see, those are going to be synergistic or win-win opportunities. Those are the ones that we're going to recommend that our advisory committee look at early on and begin to explore for housing and other development opportunities. And there may be situations where the community would like to see something different than what the developer or the consultant is recommending. Those are the ones that will put a pin in, stop and think carefully in terms of community development and planning. What are the challenges there, and what do we need to know before we move forward? And just a couple of notes, by addressing these sites, we'll actually be able to enhance the health and safety of our community while adding housing supply through the creation of new urban residential sites. We'll be promoting sustainability and coupling environmental cleanup with sustainable reuse of a property. This includes environmental justice, which is a required component of the work that we are doing, but one that we also want to highlight meaningfully as well. And also, if brownfield is located in an under-resourced community, and we do have those located throughout our county, it creates opportunities to foster community engagement and goodwill, which then allows for affordable and market rate housing to develop alongside our city partners and the communities that need that housing. So I hope that you can see how all of this work is coming together to help expand the number of properties we have available to develop housing. And then, of course, the opportunities for job creation and commercial infill development. So I'll stop sharing my screen here. I think the important thing to mention is that this consultant is very excited to kick off their work, and we're waiting the 1 week required period for protest before bringing them on. We'll have a kickoff meeting at the Port of Tillamook Bay following that period.
Perfect, thank you, TJ. That was very comprehensive, and I look forward to the Brownsfield work. Commissioners, do you all have questions for TJ or comments?
I have a question. So TJ, thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting. I've learned some things, and I'm wondering about the, do we have a Brownsfield inventory in Tillamook County? I don't think that's what this contract is for. This contract is for an assessment, but tell me about our inventory, or do we have that?
Yes, we do. We have 2 resources. The one comes from the state of Oregon and their environmental cleanup site inventory, and we have pulled that into our GIS tool and mapped all those out. Those are the known sites. And then we also have an inventory of sites that we suspect are going to be brownfields, and in fact, we've had quiet conversations with property owners who are interested in engaging with us to find out if that truly is the case. Those are informal sites, and that we're adding those in as we move along. And we also have the resource that came out of Parametrics inventory from the Salmon Berry Trail project. Many of those sites overlap.
Thank you. Do you remember, I don't expect you to have this in your head, but do you remember how many known brownfield sites we have in Tillamook County?
We have over 60.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Commissioner Yamamoto.
Yep, TJ, thanks very much for what you're doing. This is important work. I mean, we don't have that much available land to develop and build, especially housing. So these, I say minor, these areas with minor problems that we can address and clean up and use it for housing or industry, things of that nature. It's really important because, again, the amount of available land, usable land we have in Tillamook County is small. It is. So going after this grant, congratulations on being one of the 8 that did get accepted into this program. We're talking a lot of money here, but these types of things, we have to make sure that we're doing it right. And so this program will make sure that we do that with the proper assessments. So TJ, thanks again for everything you're doing.
And I would share that. Thank you, TJ. We appreciate your work. We're very fortunate to have you come onto our team at just the right moment. Colpack had brought this opportunity forward to the counties of Colpack and asked if anybody wanted to apply. And originally it was gonna be a Colpack regional grant, and then EPA said, no, you can't do that. It has to be county specific. So we had a decision point there where we decided that yes, Tillamook County would move forward in going after this grant, because we knew, as you said, Commissioner, that we have very limited land and we need to make sure we're making the best use of everything we have. And as you said, Commissioner, we have 60 identified brownfield sites. So it just made sense for Tillamook County to go after this funding to start this assessment. We're very excited that Colpack has that revolving loan fund to take the next steps. Once we do the assessment, should we discover that there are areas that do need cleanup, that there is an actual line ready to go for that. We've had some previous assessments done on properties, but there was not necessarily cleanup money readily available. And unfortunately, those assessment reports are not good forever. So you have it done, you identify that there's an issue, you need to be able to step forward into that cleanup phase. And so having the partnership we do with Colpack, with them having that funding available, and for us having TJ on board who can help guide this process forward, we look forward to building this Brownsfield program so that we can continue beyond this assessment grant to continue to do this work and again, make good use of the lands we have. So TJ, thank you very much. I appreciate so much your expertise and your guiding this process along. So Commissioners, I think we would be ready for a motion.
Ready for a motion. Madam Chair, in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for the fiscal year 22 EPA Brownsfield Community-Wide Assessment Project. This is board order number 23-012, notice of intent to award a contract. I would move approval.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, TJ.
Thanks, TJ.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, moving on to item number 7, discussion and consideration of an application for permit at Bay Ocean Peninsula by Washington County Search and Rescue. Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
County Ordinance number 42 regulates activities on the Bay Ocean Peninsula, and when there's a request for use, which there are some permitted uses out there, an application needs to be completed and then presented to you. So we've received a request from Washington County Search and Rescue to conduct search and rescue cadet training between July 15th and July 17th of this year. They're requesting permission to use the area during that time, as well as designating vehicles that'll be on the site. So it is ready for consideration.
Thank you, Rachel. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
I read that application with interest. I think it's a great site for search and rescue training. So I'm fully supportive. I think that'll be great.
Can we charge them for the use of the Bay Ocean?
Just search and rescue training.
Just kidding. It's a great place for this type of training. It really is. It's kind of unique on the Oregon coast, so I'm in full support.
Perfect, and I agree, and I read that they have actually been doing this training out there, I think it was for the last 9 years. So there is a precedent set for their usage, and obviously they must be good stewards of our area when they do use it, or we would not be considering it again. So I think, full support, ready for motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an application for permit at Bay Ocean Peninsula by Washington County Search and Rescue, I would move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 8, discussion and consideration of a seller's counteroffer number 2 to sale agreement number 6330 with Audra Jean Raw for property located at Township 1 South, Range 9 West, Section 29, Tax Lot 01000, Tillamook County. Rachel Hegarty, Chief of Staff.
The county is under a purchase and sale agreement with Audra Jean Rod to purchase 46 acres off of, in between Moroff Loop and McCormick Loop Road. We are under addendum 4 currently with different negotiations that have occurred. There have been a couple of negotiations over the last couple of weeks regarding many things, none of which fully came to fruition. During that period, the seller would like an affirmation of the purchase price. So this is something the county doesn't really feel is necessary, but it's to appease the seller that the purchase price is not changing. The purchase price is $725,000 as set forth in the original agreement. This is some paperwork to appease the purchase with the seller. And we're still going through the process of acquiring the secondary easement. So this did come in the form from the seller, but it is technically addendum number 5. So it's kind of clunky there, but it's ready for consideration.
Questions or concerns, Commissioner?
I don't think I have questions about the addendum, but I do want to mention that I've taken some questions in the community recently about this purchase. So I just want to say that this money is not from our operating fund. This is money that would be invested, that is invested, would be invested. It's not money that we're taking out of the general fund that would be used for operations or for personnel or anything else. We can invest it in this property, or it would be otherwise invested. Thank you for that.
And I would concur with that. To me, this is an investment for the county also. The money we would currently have in an LGPI account, is that what? LGI.
Local Government Investment
Thank
Pool.
you. I get them mixed up. But those are gaining currently 3, maybe 4%. This is something I feel is not only about the availability of future housing in the county, but it's an investment for the county at the same time. If things go as we anticipate, this property could be worth much more money. Again, the county, it's not my intention for the county to become a developer and develop the property into housing. But if things happen as we hope they will, and they probably will, in the near future, the property is going to be available for development. And I think we'll have developers clamoring to purchase portions of this property to develop housing. So all the right outcomes are there. I think we'll make much more than 3 or 4% interest on our investment at that point in time. I think it's always, being a former realtor, I've never seen a counter offer worded quite like this, but that's fine. I understand the intent, and Rachel was absolutely correct. The intent is the proper intent, and I feel that this is something that we should sign.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I appreciate the comments of both of my fellow commissioners, and just a reminder, this is a large chunk of property in the urban growth boundary of the city of Tillamook, and that in order for this property to be developable, there needs to be sewer extended to the property, and that's gonna take a little time. And that's something that made it the right move for the county to take, because we wanted to ensure that it did not become farmland in eternity, because we will not be able to move the urban growth boundary of the city of Tillamook, maybe never, because of the surrounding soils here. And so if this particular piece of land, which is already intended for development, were to be added to a farm instead, that could actually really preclude any further development. So it's an important piece of property to hold to its original intent, which makes sense for us as the county government to go ahead and purchase that property in our investment pool to work with the city of Tillamook, as we've already been doing, to address their sewer issues so that we can actively be pursuing bringing sewer to this piece of property to address the housing crisis that we are all in this county. So it is something that is needed, and sometimes there are spaces where government needs to step in, and this is one of those. So I appreciate the comments of all commissioners. I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of seller's counter offer number 2 to sale agreement number 6330 with Auditor Gene Raw for property located at Township 1S, Range 9W, Section 29, Tax Lot 01000, Tillamook County, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 9, discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for Kiwanda Corridor Project, Cape Kiwanda Parking Lot and Restroom. Rachel Haggerty.
In March, we advertised in the Headlight Herald and Daily Journal of Commerce for the construction of the Kiwanda Corridor Project, Cape Kiwanda Parking Lot and Restroom component of the Kiwanda Corridor Project. It's the first strategy in the larger vision that we're putting on the ground finally after over almost a decade of planning. We distributed 42 copies of the bid solicitation documents, so we had a great turnout. A lot of those were potential subcontractors. We received 3 bids. The lowest bid was from the Saunders Co. Inc. in the amount of $5,538,800. The scope of this includes a new public restroom and shower facilities. The current restrooms will be demolished. 420 feet of the multi-use path that will ultimately connect from Bob Straub at the south end and the Cape Kiwanda parking lot at the north end. So this section of the multi-use path will serve as a trailhead of sorts. A 7,000 square foot civic overlook area, which will serve as a gathering area and access point down to the beach on the western side of the parking lot. Reconfiguring the 55,000 square foot parking lot, including landscaping, improved utilities, new stormwater drainage facilities, improved garbage and recycling collection, and other associated amenities like benches, information kiosks, etc. And also the installation of EV charging stations. The construction schedule will begin as soon as the contract is awarded. As soon as the contract is executed, which will be at your meeting on April 19th, pending the protest period. Construction will begin shortly thereafter and proceed for the first phase through June 2023. We're proposing to do the new restroom foundation first, and we'll go on hiatus through the summer to minimize any impacts to visitors and locals. And then we'll resume in October, November, continuing through March on phase 2, which is the reconstruction of the north side of the parking lot, and then moving right into the completion of the project in phase 3, which is the south side of the parking lot between March 2024 and June of 2024. So starting by the end of this month and planning to complete by the summer of next year. All of this is being funded through predominantly transient lodging tax funds, a little bit of public works funding for the components of the multi-use path, and $490,000 will be coming from the parking, the day use fees in the grant. I think, unless there's questions on the scope or funding, and we are continuing to look for grant funds. We submitted a grant to the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department that you approved applying for last week in the amount of $750,000, and if that's awarded, the timing would support components of phase 2 and 3. So, notice of intent to award is ready for your consideration.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioners, comments and questions?
It's exciting to be at this stage, and I want to thank you again for all your work on this. And as you said, people have been working on this for about 10 years. So it's really exciting to be at the action stage. You know, it's a kind of a trope that government moves slowly, but it's really true. And so once we get to the action stage, people get excited. And I appreciate you spelling out everything that'll be accomplished and also how it will be paid for. I appreciated the timeliness of Nan being able to refer to this project in her presentation this morning and about what an innovative, ideal use this is of TLT funds, of visitor funds. So, you know, just to reiterate, your property tax dollars are not being spent on this project. These are visitor funds and grant funds. And it's also encouraging to me this use of TLT funds as leverage for other grant funds, which is ideal. Because TLT, even if we think it's a big pot, you know, it's not a big pot if we're looking at a $20 million project. So but what it is matching funds, so that we can go after other grants and say, yes, we have these matching funds. So bravo, and I'm excited to get started.
Thank you.
I'm excited about it too. I mean, this has been a long time coming. This is just a start. This Cape Kiwanis Master Plan that was done many years ago, now turned into the Kiwanis Corridor Project. It is an exciting project that's out there. It really is. That's also where we get much of our transient lodging tax dollars, but it's also been one of the biggest headaches that this county has had. So many people love to go to Cape Kiwanis. They do. So having the appropriate facilities for our visitors, making livability for local residents a little better is going to be really important. Managing traffic and trash and bathrooms. But that's what the TLT really is all about. And this is, again, the first bite at the apple. It's an expensive first bite at the apple. But this Kiwanis Corridor project is going to take many years to complete. This is the first real bite that we've taken to really, and I think, and this is something people are going to notice. They're going to be able to see in another year and a half exactly what this small portion of the vision really is, not just on paper, but actually on the ground. And it is exciting. So I'm in full support here.
Perfect. As am I. This is a great project. This is going to make a huge difference. I always say I'm about parking, potties, and trash, and this is parking, potties, and trash. It also explains why it's difficult for us to expand them in so many places, because the cost of doing this type of work on the coast is immense, as we can see from this bid. So it is absolutely what the transient lodging tax is here for, and I'm excited to have it move forward. I'm going to take just a really quick sidebar on transient lodging tax. I took the same sidebar on the radio the other day, but I'm going to take it here again. As the county is working through the process of amending the ordinance for our short-term rentals, which generate much of our transient lodging tax, there has developed in our community a conversation that says the commissioners want to eliminate short-term rentals. And I really want to address that head on and say, no, that is not factual. The commissioners want to make sure that our regulation of short-term rentals supports community livability. But look at the project that we are undertaking here and the amount of transient lodging tax that is required to complete this project, and ask yourself if we would be doing this if our goal was to eliminate short-term rentals. So just my own sidebar there, because I'm getting a lot of conversation in the community that we are against it. There's a rally pro short-term rentals that's out there, and it's going to be on the courthouse lawn because somebody feels we are trying to eliminate them. And I just want to address it head on. We are not. We absolutely appreciate the support in our economy that comes from the short-term rental industry. We absolutely are, as you pointed out, 1.6 million to our roads department from transient lodging tax. We are committing 5.5 million for a parking lot of transient lodging tax. We see that as important. Tourists are going to come, and if we can utilize the money that we receive to create an environment that is better for them, therefore better for our residents, we're on board. So thank you for letting me take a sidebar. But I want to spread that message anywhere and everywhere that I can, that we hear that our communities want livability. That's what the amendment of the ordinance is about. It's about balance. It's about recognizing the economics of our short-term rentals and balancing that with community livability. So back to what the matter at hand, I'm excited to have this project move forward, and I think we're ready for a motion unless there's other comment.
I just want to say that I am in agreement with you. Our intent is not to close down short-term rentals. It is not. So, are we ready for a motion? Madam Chair, consideration of an order in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for Kiwanda Corridor Project, Cape Kiwanda Parking Lot and Restroom. This is board order number 23-013. I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any board concerns for this morning? I just took mine on, so.
I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. We do have an executive session this morning, and I will turn to our table to the right. And see, who is it that's going to give me the proper numbers?
194 is 19266. 1926628 is about pending litigation. And Joe is going to join us because he's unwilling to involve Chef in this case.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I should have done this first. I'm gonna go ahead and read our announcements before we go into that executive session. And I will also share that we do not expect to come out and make any decisions from this executive session. So for those who may feel like I should hang around and see, they're not expecting any decision following the executive session. Okay, other meetings and announcements. The commissioners will hold a board briefing on Wednesday, April 5th, 2023 at 2 p.m. to discuss weekly commissioner updates. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID 736-023-979#. A public workshop of the Tillamook County Budget Committee will be held on Tuesday, April 11, 2023 at 9 a.m. The workshop will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon. Additional meetings will be held on Wednesday, April 12, 2023 at 1 p.m. and Thursday, April 13, 2023 at 9 a.m. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID 736-023-979#. We do invite you to join us for the budget hearings. It should be a good time. Okay, with that, we will recess this meeting at 10:06 a.m.